Good evening. I hope you'll excuse me if I appear a trifle excited.
It appears that some of you would like to know about my career as a director.
Most people think that I am, because of the material in which I indulge, shall we say, professionally, that I must be a monster. Well, I'm just the opposite to that. I'm a very placid, calm individual. I'm scared of policemen. I never drive a car on the theory that if you don't drive a car, you can't get a ticket. I'm scared stiff of anything that is to do with the law. When I was a child of 5, my father sent me with a note to the local chief of police for a minor, I must admit, a minor misdemeanor. The officer on duty read it and locked me in a jail cell for 5 minutes, saying, "This is what we do to naughty boys." Now, psychiatrists say that if you can trace the origin of your fear, it will disappear. The whole thing is a confounded lie, because I still have it.
This is why I'm drawn to making movies about the wrongfully accused, and the cold-heartedness of the law, movies like North by Northwest, 1959.
Possible motive for the slaying, suggested by the discovery that earlier today Thornhill had appeared to Glen Cove, Long Island Police Court, charged with drunk driving with a stolen car. In his defense, he charged that the murder victim, Mr. Townsend, had tried to kill him the night before.
Does anyone know this Thornhill?
No, not me.
Never heard of it.
Apparently, the poor sucker got mistaken for George Kaplan.
How can he get mistaken for George Kaplan when George Kaplan doesn't even exist?
Don't ask me how it happened. Obviously, it happened. Van Damme's men must have grabbed him, tried to put him away, using Lester Townsend's house.
And the unsuspecting Mr. Townsend winds up with a stray knife in his back.
C'est la guerre.
So horribly sad, how is it I feel like laughing?
What are we going to do?
Do?
About Mr. Thornhill.
We do nothing.
Nothing.
That's right, nothing. Oh, we could congratulate ourselves on a marvelous stroke of good fortune. Our non-existent decoy, George Kaplan, created to divert suspicion from our actual agent, has fortuitously become a live decoy.
Yes, Professor. And how long do you think he'll stay alive?
Well, that's his problem.
What Mrs. Finley means is
Oh, I know what she means.
we can't sit back calmly and wait to see who kills him first, Van Damme and company or the police.
What can we do to save him without endangering our own agent?
Aren't we being just a wee bit callous?
No, my dear woman, we're not being callous.
But I am getting way ahead of myself. I was a young lad when my filmmaking career began, 1920. I acquired a job at the Lansky studio in my hometown of London.
Action.
I was a title card designer for silent movies. In 1923 I received my first break when the director became sick before the movie was finished. Action. Although I did not get credit as the director on the film, it allowed me to collaborate with the assistant director, Alma Reville. She would later become my wife. Cut. The studio was impressed with my work, so I was hired to direct my first movie from start to finish. Unfortunately, the studio ran out of money and closed before I could complete it.
The first two films I made as a director were made in Munich, and I had to direct them in German. When I got back to England to do number 3 film, it was Mrs. Belloc Lowndes' famous book, The Lodger. And this is the story of a rooming house in London where she wondered and the rest of the family wondered whether the man upstairs is Jack the Ripper or not.
It was received favorably. My success continued when the talkies came along. For those of you who don't pay attention in Mr. Thomas's class, talkies are movies with synchronized dialogue. I soon became the most sought-out director in England. In 1940, Paramount Studios signed me for a 7-picture deal. I, along with my wife and young daughter, moved to the United States.
I was a #1 British director, but on the other hand, I noticed that Hollywood was, there was directors from all over Europe going there. So in a way, it was a challenge.
I continued my trademark of making brief appearances in my movies. With classics such as Notorious, 1946, Strangers on a Train, 1951, and Rear Window, 1954, I became known as the master of suspense.
There's a great confusion between the words mystery and suspense. And the two things are absolutely miles apart. You see, mystery is an intellectual process, like in a whodunit. But suspense is essentially an emotional process. Therefore, you can only get the suspense element going by giving the audience information.
Along the way I've had my battles. Like with actors.
It's the difficulty of stars. They want to be writers today. And I think that's one of the big problems when an actor wants to rewrite and arrives on the set. I had that occasion happen to me once. An actor came with a scene completely rewritten. At 9 a.m. I said, what about your co-star in the picture? She doesn't know a word of this. Don't you have any regard for her? Actors and actresses are necessary evils that we have to tolerate in our business. I've always said Mr. Disney has the right idea. If he doesn't like them, he tears them up.
I've also had my battles with the studio. I told Paramount I was adapting the book Psycho. When they learned of the horrific nature of the material, they wanted nothing to do with it. I decided to finance it myself and convinced the studio to distribute it. It became my biggest commercial success. It was well regarded for its use of montage.
Montage means the assembly of pieces of film, which, moved in rapid succession before the eye, create an idea. The picture Psycho contained the murder of a woman in a shower. Now, as you know, you could not take the camera and just show a nude woman being stabbed to death. It had to be done impressionistically. So it was done with little pieces of film. The head, the feet, the hand, the parts of the torso. That was disappointing, wasn't it?